Hey, what's going on? Um, so I've noticed there's been a lot of crazy censorship going on YouTube and on Twitter. Um, if you go on Twitter at all, you've known that they've taken down two professional scientists, uh, Peter McLeod and Robert Malone, people who have like one of the two of the top scientists and doctors that have been at the forefront of this COVID nonsense. And I'm wondering, why is it that they don't want these people to, you know, say what they need to say? Because you would think the creator of the mRNA uh, vaccine and McLeod, who was the forerunner of figuring out how to treat COVID early on, before the vaccines came out. You would think you would want to hear about what they have to say. But no, Twitter and YouTube just wants to push the mainstream narrative. Um, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a journalist. But I just see what's going on. I feel like if you don't notice what's going on, like, you're not really for science. Like, you're a drone. It's like everyone in the Matrix. Uh, Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Matrix Resurrections, um, Neo, well, you see it in the trailers, but Neo is taking the blue pills and it stops him from experiencing the Matrix or experiencing the real world and blinds him to how he's in the Matrix. I feel like that's kind of what everyone's up to right now. I was thinking the other day, like, I live by the highway out here, and there's cars constantly driving, you know, back and forth. It's a main highway, um, and I was thinking probably like one in every 30 of those people uh, are red pilled, if you will, and the majority of everyone driving up and down this highway are the blue pill people who maybe don't pay attention to what's going on in the world, and then when they hear the news, they hear the radio, they hear something, they probably just don't question it. They take it into consideration, and it's in the back of their mind. So, over time, you're being fed this information from wherever, and maybe you work 9 to 5, you have a family, you have a mortgage, you don't really care to sit down and research what's going on. You don't really care to research what people you're voting for. Um, and I'll be honest, like, it's hard to keep up with all this stuff that's going on. Like, what do you research exactly? Um, but it's really good to kind of see it from both perspectives and then to think for yourself. Like, And yes, I listen to Joe Rogan podcast. Yes, I listen to Timcast. I listen to Jordan Peterson, Brett Weinstein. Um, you know, these people that the media is really after, especially Joe Rogan and Brett. Like, they're really like not for this idea of free speech, and it's a it's the left mentality. And I'll be honest, I'm not really on any side of the political spectrum. I've never considered myself to be right or left. I think I'm more centrist. And I feel like growing up, like abortion, for example, that was always a that always came from more of a religious point of view because I grew up Christian. But I'm not really religious anymore, so abortion is kind of like whatever. I don't really care. Doesn't affect me personally, and I guess do what you want to do. You know, there's uh but I also listen to Alex Jones, and Alex Jones is against abortion. But people think he's insane, though he's been right about uh, interesting things lately. Um, just I have some right wing, and Joe Rogan's more of a left wing person. And then I look at the mainstream narrative, and the mainstream narrative mostly just pushes like one thing. It it goes after certain people, and then it continues to push a narrative, whether it's the vaccines, whether it's this is how you deal with COVID, or um, these people are wrong, and it's never really like up for debate or up for discussion. It's just you're wrong. This is the this is what is going on, and let's move on. It's like that's the new version of what being liberal means, which I'm 30, and I never really paid attention to that stuff when I was a teenager. So I'm probably missing out. But from what I've heard, the left being liberal always used to be about free speech and just like being able to express yourself. But and now it's flipped. Now we have like extreme left people being almost cult like, uh, pushing a narrative. It's kind of like a mantra, if you will. In the right, although there's crap in the right too, um, the right's trying to push, you know, uh, stuff that would allow free speech and all that stuff. But that's just an example. Like, the left, like, Democrats were really trying to push for the stimulus checks, for example, and the Republicans did not want anything to do with stimulus checks, which is just mind boggling. And not really being either side, I was hoping the Democrats would win, and I see that the Republicans keep trying to block aid for American people. It's just like, and then I listened to like Bernie Sanders. I'm like, wow, like I I like what Bernie Sanders has to say. Um, and I wasn't really against Trump. He was a lot better than Hillary Clinton. Um, and then it didn't seem like anyone got what they wanted when they voted for Biden. It was just Biden was the other option because the majority of Americans didn't care for Trump anymore. So they just wanted to vote for someone else. And then uh, the people on the left were seem like they're now regretting Biden, as there's like a low rating for Biden's approval now, and Harris is no better. But like I feel like people like Michelle Obama would be a really good candidate. Uh, there's Tulsi Gabbard, who's more of a centrist. Um, I don't know anyone on the right or Republicans, so for midterms, it's gonna be tough. But just like do your research. I think just stay off Twitter, stay off YouTube. You know, if it's something that continues to sway you, because you go on there and uh, they don't really have like both sides of the story, you know. And I think it would be a lot better if we had platforms that allowed um, both sides of the story. And Twitter does have people on both sides of the story, but you have like it's just weird that they would ban Robert Malone. You know, he made the mRNA vaccine. I feel like he would know what he's talking about. And then it's just weird censorship. It's like cherry picking censorship. It's it's not like a mass censorship. It's not like they're going after everyone who says certain words, even though Twitter expressed like a month ago or whatever that if you say people who have had the vaccine can still get sick, then you'll get banned or timed out or whatever. And it's like stuff like that is simply not true because uh, I work at Home Depot, and Monday we found out that like 6 people were out of work, like because of COVID, and everyone at my job is vaccinated. So I'm vaccinated, my boss is vaccinated, my coworkers are vaccinated, and like 6 people were out, and uh, I think most of them are waiting to get the results back if they had COVID, which, but that was just like an example of a terms of service update from Twitter saying you can't say that vaccinated people are getting sick with COVID. And that's like the mainstream narrative. You look at the news, it's like 70% vaccinated, 30% unvaccinated, um, you know, and it's just like people are blaming the unvaccinated people, and it's just like, stop. Like, quit feeding into that narrative because it's simply not true. You can still get COVID even if you're vaccinated. The vaccines were created for the original strand, so now we have Omicron and God knows what else, whether it's made up or if it's real. I don't know at this point because people are just like pushing, COVID stories day after day, and it's simply like nobody knows what's going on anymore because, like, Biden kind of just gave up and said, "Oh, it's not the government's responsibility anymore." Um, just stuff like that that's going on. And it's like, I don't know how people can just listen to one side of the story. I mean, you listen to the same thing every day and you don't think that there's something. Like, I'm not going to be ignorant when I'm at work and know that everyone I work with, especially me, we've all been vaccinated. Some people got boosters, and people who had the boosters are out sick with COVID. But they got boosters to help fight against getting COVID. So I'm not going to stand here or sit here and go, oh, like, think nothing of it, basically, when I come home and I go on Twitter, I go on YouTube. You can't get sick if you're vaccinated, or you can't get COVID, and it's all the unvaccinated people's fault. And, but yeah, that's the shit that I see all over social media, and it's just like, it's mind-boggling. So I think whatever's going on, I hope that there are people in government that will stand up for midterms, and we'll be able to find some decent people because, you know, the stuff that's going on is just, it's weird. And I wish, I don't know, I just wish that we weren't in this weird contradicting bubble. People who don't know anything about anything are arguing against the possibility that the narrative being given is wrong. People are just out to attack, like Joe Rogan brings on lots of interesting people and ask all the questions that you can ask. Spotify has them on there so they can have their open discussions and they can talk about and debate and discuss. Where if you were to put it on YouTube will take it down because that's not a part of the narrative. So they don't want you to know about anything. So, I mean, basically, if this gets taken down because I said all the trigger words, like I'm a small channel, so that's gonna be interesting to see. But yeah, I don't know. It's just thoughts I had. Um, I just wanted to rant about all this stuff going on. So again, I'm not a doctor, so if you have any questions or concerns, you should consult your own doctor. Um, I'm not a journalist, so my facts and my information may not be 100% correct. I listen to Joe Rogan Experience, Tim Cass, Alex Jones, but I look on Twitter, I see what YouTube's promoting, and it's just very like two different stories. You know, the tale of two cities. Which city is like the right one? So, but if you watch this and if you have some kind of free thinking thought in your brain and you're not controlled by like the big tech, the big corporate tech that is pushing like a one-sided story, then uh, try to look past my drunken sounding ramblings, because this is how I talk. So, but with that being said, I'm out. Thanks for watching.